Hello, I am Dr. Doom Jazz, and I want to welcome you to Milwaukee After Dark, where we talk about the latest in contemporary music that is too lame to be even played on Delilah. And tonight we're going to be talking about a band specially out of Australia for you by way of Tracey Newport, who is nominally a reviewer of heavy metal albums, but yet has picked this one. Tracey, what do you have to say for yourself?
You can suck it.
And that, my friends, brings us into Thunderdome Metal Reviews. I, of course, am Ben Lindsay, and with me, as always, are Tracey, as well as the Dr. David Pizzo and our great friend and collaborator, Gabe Cooper. I concede the floor, Tracey.
Gentlemen, the question pondered before you, is this metal? Before we even get to anything else, is it metal? Do we have a quorum on vote? I say yes.
I say, yeah, sure, why not? I don't think I'm quite the strictest bet on this. And it has metal moments, for sure.
Yeah, it's got like 41 seconds of metal on the album at the very beginning of the first track.
That's generous. I'm not qualified to, discuss whether something is metal or not. But I mean, yeah, it's not as heavy as I thought it was going to be.
Whether it is metal or not, okay, fair. Is it metal? Yes, but it's as metal as AC/DC, which some people would say is not metal and would just say it's hard rock. It's as metal as Guns N' Roses. I would say that Guns N' Roses is more metal. Motley Crue is more metal. A lot of bands are much more metal than this. But sure, this is as metal as Cinderella or, I don't know, Tesla, who I would argue is heavier than this. But it's not heavy. Not that it has to be, but... So just by those, I mean, after listening to this in our text thread, I said, I think Tracey would really like Sabotage. I think Sabotage is heavier than this, but this is in the same vein of theatrical metal as that. And with that, I guess I can give some deets on this Tracey-rific album. Go ahead.
I'll say this. I did remember reading somewhere before this album was released, I think their first full-length Bloom, that one of the people reviewing was like, called them probably the next large arena rock band that most people haven't found out about yet.
Okay. This is In Contact. It is their fourth studio album. It was released on the 15th of September in 2017 on the label Inside Out Music. Most of it was recorded in Studio Circuit in Burleigh Heads, Queensland. Some of it was recorded in Sam Allen, the lead guitarist's house. The saxophones were recorded in the Shining Studios in Oslo, Norway. The producer was Sam Allen, that lead guitarist I mentioned previously. The runtime on it is 61 minutes and 54 seconds. Jim Gray provides lead vocals, Sam Allen lead guitars, Adrian Golby guitars, Dave Cooper bass, Josh Griffin does the drums. The additional musicians on this album are Jorgen Munk, the saxophonist, and he does some backing vocals, and John Morton, John Gray, Mitch Legg, Rick Collins, Sam Gray, Zach Greensill, and Zach Muller, and additional scream, shouted, and sung vocals throughout this album. It's very well played. It is incredible. It's actually very well put together, mixed, and produced. It's kind of boring, though, in my opinion.
This is probably the weakest of the... I'd say it's probably weaker than Rise Radiant, and I really enjoy their third album, Bloom, more as well. I'm trying to remember Imperial Cities. I don't think I've heard the second one.
Why did you pick this one then?
Well, the pick of it, remember, because you guys wanted to get rid of the random. I was like, okay, cool.
Right.
And so I wanted to keep an aspect of random there. And so what would have been a random pick, it was on the spreadsheet. But I do think this is metal. And while I don't like it as much as the other albums, I still enjoy this album quite a bit. So,
I'm in some ways an easy mark. I mean, I really dig a lot of Australian shit, so I'm into all that neo new wave stuff, like Midnight Juggernauts, Cut Copy, because there's some of that going on here. And then I really like Voyager, which Tracey introduced me to a lot, actually, and 12 Foot Ninja, which I think I liked more than Ben. But I like both 12 Foot Ninja and Voyager a lot more than this. This isn't bad. It's pretty. It's well played. It's got some fun moments, but I agree with Ben. Ultimately, it's just a bit boring. It's not quite pretty enough to really sort of go into that space. And not as heavy as either 12-Foot Ninja or Voyager.
Yeah, what I think is admirable about this record and about, a lot of prog records in general is that they're trying to tell a story. And oftentimes it's not a story that is really fully told through words at all. And actually, a lot of it is just contained in the music that is composed. And so I think that is, I think, at least part of what they're going for here. They're trying to do some kind of a narrative. I don't really know what kind of a narrative it is, and I didn't really find out, even though I listened to the album more than once. That said, there are some really pretty, pretty parts, pretty musical parts. There's some nice harmonies on here. There's even some tasteful falsetto, but in general, it didn't really do a whole lot for me.
So in the little mocking intro that I did to kind of get under Tracey's skin, I mentioned the Delilah Show, which she is a syndicated adult contemporary radio host / DJ. And this, I think I said this in the original Caligula Source review, or some other band, Caligula Source adjacent, that this really does, if it is metal, it's adult contemporary metal, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. But this is something that I very easily seen crossing over. And that doesn't make it bad. It doesn't, that is not a value statement on the quality of it. But I mean, it is just, it is dabbling in a lot of things. And I agree with Gabe. It is trying to tell a story that is explicitly clear. And like, there's one track that is just a dramatic reading of a poem that the dude wrote that leads into the next track. And I give them credit for experimenting with that and doing that. And you can tell that these guys really care about their craft a lot. And I appreciate the shit out of that. And I appreciate the technical skill that they have. And the songwriting, the melodies on here are good. The harmonies that are also very good. It's just, again, we've said this before, David and I, and I'm sure Gabe does too, although I don't know as much about his musical taste. We listen to other genres other than metal, and whereas Tracey listens to a lot more metal than us, so he has to try and find these things under the metal umbrella. And this is just, I wouldn't, if I'm listening to metal, this isn't what I want to listen to. I'll go listen to some adult contemporary or some later grunge or something like that to get the itch that this scratches for me.
And this, I think, scratches a different itch than you guys for me, because like this was a perfect week kind of for it, because we had the Cerebral Rot and the Slipknot's Iowa kind of coming in before this, at least the way I listened to them, where you had those two albums that just kind of, they're ball breakers, and then you come into this and it's kind of lifts the mood for you, and just kind of like, it's not just stomping on your neck the whole entire time. It allows for some more breath to be allowed and a little more freedom, and I think, in the poise and the sound. And I really enjoy that in this.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for, palate cleansing, and also just going to a different headspace completely than, aggressive, throat punchy. I mean, I don't know anybody who can, live their whole lives and just listen to that kind of, those kinds of records. But I certainly can't. So I see where you're coming from, Tracey. At the same time, if I am going to listen to something that is a little bit lighter or a little bit more uplifting or a little bit something different, I may not necessarily go to something that's trying to tell me a story, something where I need to get enveloped by it. You know what I mean? But we all have different listening habits.
And yeah, and like, my early 20s music teeth was heavily cut in Dream Theater, Camelot, and those more prog metal, proggier aspects of it. And this was just another step forward for me in a similar like style and sound.
Makes sense.
Which, now that I think about it, we need to get some Camelot in here just for David to have some fun.
What does that mean?
It's some power prog with a lot of pros.
It is. It is
Oh,
the most power metal of power metal. So
But it's good most of the time. It's
okay.
good.
I mean, you know, I will get on that ride if like the Valkyrie is mighty enough, and like I Unleash the Archers, which is in my top 10, Tracy.
But Unleash the Archers was
Surprisingly,
last year.
I know.
Oh,
Oh,
you.
no,
Yes,
that's
Abyss was last year.
Abyss is not 2021.
No.
Fuck again.
We used to call it this time before the grades were in.
We caught it last time too. That thing never made it. The thing I put in the wrong year is we haven't done 2021 yet.
Correct.
Oh, you're right. That did happen with one album that I thought was more recent. Well, I just want everything to be right now, Tracy.
But yeah, I mean, in my argument for this also being considered metal is a lot of reviewers put this, a lot of metal, like no metal quantities put this in their metal top 10 list of 2017. So
A lot of people really fucking love this album, though, apparently. Like, reviews I read just were fawning all over it. Like, the critics, anyway, seem to like this album a lot, which I guess you're right, it's not the same thing as, like, fans or, I guess those kinds of lists. But critics, I was like, are we listening to the same thing? I don't know. The praise was very glowing.
Yeah.
I guess they deserve it. Again, I want to say Ben said it's not a bad album. They play well, and it has some notes that are sort of a little lofty or uplifting, but ultimately it just, I don't know, man. I like the Ocean Collective. Like, there's some prog stuff you played for me I like, and I don't dislike this. I find it just a bit anodyne, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and that's okay. I mean, I knew when this album was picked, I was like, all right, I know how this is going to fall. But
yeah, it definitely is what it is.
I mean, I don't think you guys dislike it as much as you did Converge. So
no,
We're not even close.
Much rather listen to this than Converge. I mean, that goes without saying.
Yeah, I told you, Tracy, if I could go back, I would lower Converge's grade considerably, retroactively. So no, it pisses me off the more I think about it. Anyway, but yeah, this hasn't been terrible. It's all right, and I understand why you like it, given a background in Dream Theater. And what did you say, Camelot?
Yes, Camelot.
Yeah, of course
with
it
a
is.
K.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Yes.
It's edgy.
Super edgy. Also, maybe the other was trademarked since there was Camelot music stores. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to jump into the tracks. All these are very well played. None of them I ever cared anything about hearing again. The most interesting part, and also probably the most pretentious part of the entire album, is the transition from Fill My Heart into Inertia and the Weapon of the Wall, which is the previously mentioned dramatic reading of the poem, which is very Shakespearean. That's like, I felt like I was watching a play in the park, which was both off-putting but also kind of cool. And then how that ends with the title of the next track, and they go into the cannon's mouth. So yeah, that was probably the high moment of the album. I think it's interesting that they have a digital bonus track that is not on the physical copy. Not that that is uncommon, but it's a re-recording of a track from their second album, Atlas Revisited. I don't know what changed about it because I didn't go back and listen to the first one. Maybe Tracy can speak to that, but it was also a decent faux closer or bonus closer.
Sure.
So, yeah. Well, in the sense of the second track, the Bloom album, I think in all of them they do something like a acoustic version or some kind of like re-rendition of an album of a song from a different album. But I guess I'll go next. I really enjoy the opener, Dream Dead. Will song I enjoy. I think up the first one, 3 tracks are good. The Hands are the hardest. Love Conquers All. It's okay. Songs for No One I enjoy. I'm not a big fan of Capulet. Fill My Heart's okay. The poetry reading, while it's neat, sometimes I skip it because I just don't want to hear it. but I do enjoy The Cannon's Mouth and The Graves as well. So really, all the actual songs on here I like. Surprise, surprise.
That makes sense. I like Will's song. I like Songs for No One. It's got the word song in it. I tended to like it. I thought those were good. But those are also the faster, heavier tracks. So I think the opener's okay too, Dream the Dead. Other than that, most of it's it's just sort of there. In terms of the poem, I know what he was trying to do. I get it. I too have seen things written behind glass in the Jewish ghetto, but I don't know if it works, Tracey. One interesting thing is that is the first Caligula's horse track I heard. It was on I don't even remember. I guess I think I had songs you had given me on random, and that came on. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I think I even asked you about it later. I'm like, what poem? What? You're like, oh, that's on In Contact. So I'm not sure it's entirely successful. Sorry. They're probably going to beat me up now, along with Glenn Danzig. So yeah, there's like 2 or 3 tracks I think are pretty good, and the rest just sort of exist, like, I don't know, air or sunlight or dirt.
Yeah, I think my take was pretty similar to David's. I really enjoyed Will's song. It's catchy as fuck, and at least is somewhat metal. Songs for No One is also pretty good. It gets a little bit too quiet for my taste, but I enjoyed it. Still, Fill My Heart is not in the least metal, but it's really nice, and it's got like banjo or something. Who knows? It's it's a good time. But otherwise, I wasn't too taken with any of the other tracks. I had one of these long, Graves ends up being how long? Like 15 minutes long, something like that. It takes about 11 minutes to warm up.
It's way too long. It's ludicrous.
If you have to wait 11 minutes for the song to really get warmed up, it's too long. I'm already checked out. But yeah, I also just couldn't really deal with the poetry. I didn't think it did more.
I think it might have worked if it had been shorter. I don't know. It's a lot. It's long. It goes on a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe use it elsewhere, like if he'd split it into pieces.
Minutes.
But just randomly dropping the Jewish quarter stuff in there
that too.
Is very strange and feels somewhat exploitative, because the story that's the album is trying to tell is not about Jewish people, or
it's not.
Ostensibly not about Jewish people. So it's like,
it confused me a lot. I'm with you.
Is that really necessary? I don't think so.
Yeah, I was irritated by that, actually. Just because it's not picked up anyway. I mean, maybe I'm just missing something. But
yeah, I'm not going to say that it's not about Jewish people. I have no idea, but it could be weaved into the others, and I'm just missing it because it could be some Australian context. But I agree that it was slightly jarring. All right, let's grade this thing. Tracey, you picked it. You go first. All
righty. Well, I'm going to give it a B+ right there, like an 87.4. I enjoyed this album. I'm in the bag for Caligula's Horse. I listen to everything they release until I die, so I'm here for it. Time to rip the Band-Aid off, gentlemen. Just let me have it.
F-. No.
I'll jump in, and I'll say that this is for hardcore fans only. Especially as Tracey says, it's not really their best one. So I would say it's a C+.
It's all filler, no killer. D.
I am going to come in a tiny bit higher. I thought because it was very pretty and had some nice moments, and I'm maybe, as I said, an easy mark for that Australian shit. I'm going to give it a B-, actually. I think I like prog a little bit more than Ben also. It's not great. It's B- trending towards C+. Gabe almost convinced me to lower my grade. You're like, this really is kind of for fans. But it's pretty, and they're very good at playing. So I'll give them an 80.
So you said, So you said, I'm going to come in a little bit higher. And you said after Ben, it's like, all right, I went ahead and keyed you in for a D+.
Oh, you thought that's what I was gonna do?
Yeah.
No. This seems to happen with prog. You think like because I bitch about it, but then I give it like a B or a C, and you're like, oh. Whereas Ben is like D-, like he doesn't even hesitate.
No, and the thing about it is that unlike some things I give a D-, there is nothing at all wrong with the playing on this. This is incredibly easy to listen to. It's just.
This is an album Robin can listen to.
Yeah, pretty good.
It is an album that would be played in the waiting room of a dentist's office. So D for dentist.
I want to know a dentist you're going to, so I can go to that dentist and listen to good music while sitting in a waiting room.
I would go to that dentist. I mean, hey.
Hey, David, are you going to be okay?
Is it as good as Novocaine? Right. No, it is not as good as Novocaine. But I mean, it's going to put me in the right frame of mind, maybe.
Unfortunately, I'm going to end up at the dentist that's playing Cerebral Rot. Oh, just in the waiting room.
I mean, unfortunately or fortunately?
Both. Endless putrescents like that.
I mean, which dentist would you rather go to? One that's playing this while you're sitting in the waiting room, or one that's playing Cerebral Rot? Because I feel like if you go to the Cerebral Rot one, there's no numbing. It's just pliers and you're pulling.
I mean, I assume I'm going to be turned into a zombie. I don't know.
For real.
Yeah.
For real.
So yeah, I guess I'm going to the prog dentist, Tracey.
Go to get a wisdom tooth removed. Come back with your head cut off.
Stay for the decapitation.
Stay for the decapitation.
Oh man, what are we doing next, Tracey? What abomination, this one or any other, are we reviewing next time?
And next time we are going into shit. Why does it do that?
We're going into shit, y'all. Right into
it. No. Google Drive, every time you go to open a file, and if it's in somewhat, you've opened one since that one, but you hadn't actually looked at the My Drive page, if you click on the first one when you thought it was something else, it'll open up a different file.
I had trouble finding the schedule because you cleverly changed the name, but I'd forgotten we had that conversation. I'm like, what the fuck? Where's the schedule? And then I found it.
So next time we're looking at Trinitas Bell by Hooded Menace.
I don't want to say the word you just said, but I'm looking forward to it.
I don't even know what to expect. Now I'm looking forward to the two albums after that for sure, but that Ben's pick.
Maybe it's a hidden gem. You don't know.
Maybe
death metal, doom death. So,
oh well, great then, fantastic.
So we're going to go from doom death to prog death to just prog. So we're just kind of working. It's like a stepping stone.
Thanks, Death. Thanks for making 2021 the year it is.
Thanks, Death.
Death, sponsor of 2020.
Sponsored by Death.
That's when you thought it couldn't get any better than 2020 for Death. Comes 2020.
I'm surprised
the
way 2020 and 2021 is gone. David hasn't put more Chuck Schuldiner on there to get us in the mindset.
Part of the problem is I put so much Morbid Angel on there to get you in the mindset. So it's not like death metal's not happening.
That's true. It's quite a bit. Nothing.
Death themselves are not happening.
Yes. Have we done like Sounds of Perseverance or any? Have we? No, we've only done Human, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll get more on there. Don't worry. Give me time.
Indeed. Well, that brings us to the close of whatever I said it was after dark. Another journey through the soft underbelly of metal. Citadel Metal Reviews.
Oh shit, son.